Hey, what's going on, Jam Fam? So the Hypercharge Brawl Talk just dropped, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this update. I think there's a couple of good things in this update, but I also think there's a lot of bad stuff in this update, and I just want to talk about that as we go through this video. So let me know what you guys think about this update down in the comments. Let me know what you think about my thoughts as well, and let's get started with it. Alright, so as always with most of these recent updates, we are getting two brawlers, and in my opinion, we're getting one L of a brawler and one W of a brawler. So let's talk about them really quick. Alright, so first off, let's kick things off with Pearl. Now, in my opinion, Pearl's a bit of a boring brawler. I'm not very excited for her. She gives me a lot of Pam vibes. She's got a lot of HP. She has a very similar shot pattern to Pam, and overall, it just feels like they rehashed Pam, but instead of giving her a healing super, they gave her a damage super. Alright, so Pearl is very clearly a tank. She's got 8,400 HP at max level. That's very clearly right in the middle of tanked health, so she's got that going for her. And like I said, she's a lot like Pam. She actually has the exact same shot pattern as Pam, where she shoots in a cone with multiple projectiles. When you're closer up, you're going to land more of your projectiles. When you're further away, you're going to struggle to land most of them, but you'll hit a couple here and there. The damage seems to be okay. It looks like each projectile does somewhere in the 700s of damage, and it depends on your damage scaling, but we'll talk about that in a minute because that's like her main gimmick. But the main difference between Pam and Pearl is going to be their supers. Now, obviously, we know Pam's super. She throws on a healing pad, people heal up, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. Pearl's super is going to be more like Maisie's super, where in an area of effect of herself, she does like a slam, it knocks people back, but instead of slowing people, it's actually going to break walls. Now, to me, I feel like the wall break is kind of detrimental to Pearl because she doesn't have fast movement speed, she doesn't have any mobility from what we can see, so I think that she's not really going to want to break a lot of walls because she doesn't really have any way of dodging shots other than just your pure skill, which isn't always going to carry you as well. But like I said earlier, Pearl does have a bit of a gimmick, and that's going to be her heat up mechanic. Now, when you don't attack with Pearl, she's going to charge a bar underneath her HP. When that bar is full, she's going to do a lot more damage than when it's empty. So the main thing with Pearl is going to be getting close to people, trying to charge up your bar as much as possible, and then just dealing a ton of damage when you're in their face. I think that's going to be the main way of playing Pearl, and I don't know how well it's actually going to work, especially when you consider she does have a wall break in her kit, so that can work against her in certain maps and modes. Now, my main thing against Pearl, the reason why I'm saying she's an L isn't because I think she's going to be bad. I think she's going to be pretty okay at worst. She's probably going to be strong because, you know, a lot of new brawlers are very strong when they come out. But I think the main thing is actually that everything in Pearl's kit we've already seen in game. Her main shot is literally just Pam's shot. Her super is literally just Maisie's super. And then even her main gimmick, which is her heat up mechanic, we've already seen versions of that in the game with like Ash and his ramp up mechanic, stuff like that. So it's like, what's unique about this brawler? What makes me excited to want to play her? And I can't really find any answers right now, so I have to say she's an L. Now that's going to bring me to the second brawler in this update, and that's going to be Chuck. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I first saw Chuck, I was not excited about him at all. I thought he was kind of boring, and I kind of just moved on through the Brawl Talk. But when I went back to write down all my notes about this update, the more I looked into Chuck, the more I started to like him, and I'm actually kind of excited to get him in the game now. Alright, so obviously Chuck is another tank brawler. He's got 8,600 HP at max level, so obviously he's got that going for him, so that's always fun to play with. But I think the real thing I like about Chuck a lot is he's going to do a lot of damage no matter where he is on the map. At max range, it looks like he's going to do about 2,000 damage, but if you're up close to him, he's going to do about 3,000 damage, so that's obviously nuts. It's a lot of damage no matter where you are if you're getting hit by Chuck, so you got to watch out for that. Now, obviously, the main thing about Chuck is going to be his super. Now, the way it works is you place these little turrets throughout the map, and then when you stand on one of the turrets, you can dash to the next one over, and it looks very high skill, and it looks very fun to use, and I think there's going to be a lot of, like, outplay maneuvers with this super. On top of that, it's extremely punishing. If you do get caught by this super, you're going to take 3,500 damage, which is a lot of damage. Like, there's not a lot of brawlers that do in the 3Ks damage, and now Chuck has 2 ways to do that amount of damage. It's kind of nuts, and I think Chuck's going to be a very good aggro brawler because of these reasons. So yeah, if you're not excited about Chuck, I totally understand. I was just like that, but the more I looked into him, the more excited I was to get him, so I have to give Chuck a W here. Alright, so now we gotta get down into the mud of this update, and I have to give the biggest possible L I could ever imagine to the changes to power scaling. I hate this change, and I'm going to bash it right here, so get ready. First off, I hate the way they tried to sell this to us in Brawl Talk. It is disgusting how they tried to make it seem like it was such a positive for the game. Oh, your levels are gonna be such a big change, and it's gonna feel real impactful. No, that's not what it does. Yes, in effect, it does, but the main thing that I really don't like about this, and the thing that they didn't even mention at all, is how much more slanted it makes your brawler scaling if you're a level 9, if you're a level 8, compared to a level 10, a level 11. It is just like basically what Clash Royale does. So you know how in Clash Royale, when your Musketeer dies to a fireball that's one level above it, that's because Clash Royale has a stat change of 10% between levels. And now they're adding that into Brawl Stars, and we're going to see the exact same type of problems arise just because of this one little change here. And it's going to be problematic throughout the entire mid ladder when you don't have all your brawlers max level, or you have brawlers that are max level and you're beating up on people that have level 8s and 9s. This is a change that's a negative for pretty much every player in the entire game, except for like the top 1% of players. Everybody's going to be frustrated by this. We're all going to feel the problems that arises from this. And then on top of that, they slap Hypercharge into level 11, so it compounds onto the problem even more. And it's just, I don't understand the thought process behind this. It's just broken. It's just going to break the game. It's going to make it unfun, and I'm not a fan of it at all. Giant L, Supercell. Giant L. I hate this. I hate this. All right, so now we're going to talk about Hypercharge. Now, even though I gave stat changes the biggest L I could possibly imagine, I'm going to give Hypercharge a very small W. I like Hypercharge. I think it's a good mechanic for the game, but I have a lot of concerns. Let's talk about all this. First off, like I said, I like the mechanic of Hypercharge. I think it's a very good way of adding another layer of mechanics to the game, just like star powers and gadgets, and I think it's really going to affect the flow of combat in very clutch times, and I could see very big clutch plays of like aggro brawlers getting their Hypercharge right at the right moment and then popping off and getting a team wipe or something like that. I'm excited to see these types of plays, especially in like competitive or something. I think it's very good change for the game at the top level. The other thing that Hypercharge brings to the table is now you're going to unlock your gears at lower levels, and this makes leveling up feel a lot better. Now you're going to get a gear at level 8, and you're going to get a gear at level 10, as opposed to getting them at level 10 and 11. See, Supercell, this is a positive way of making level ups feel more impactful. You unlock more mechanics as you level up, not just pure stat changes that break the game. But even though I like Hypercharges, I have 3 huge concerns, and that's what causes me to say that it's just a small W for the game instead of a big. Let's talk about those concerns really quick. All right, so my first major concern is going to be the cost of Hypercharges. 5,000 gold to unlock your Hypercharge after upgrading to level 11, which is another 2,000 gold. It's just nuts. It makes the game feel much more grindy. It doesn't seem like they're going to give us any more gold from any aspect of the game. We don't know that for sure, but they didn't really mention anything about adding any more gold income. So I have major concerns that this is going to cause the gold economy to break, and it's really concerning, honestly. 5,000 gold is just nuts. Now, my next major concern is that not all brawlers are getting Hypercharges at the exact same times, and I understand why that has to be. Obviously, 60-something brawlers in the game, it makes it a lot of work for the devs to have to make a Hypercharge for every single brawler, but at the exact same time, it brings up major concerns, and it's going to be a problem, honestly, in my opinion. Now, the problem with this is that it creates a haves and a has-not situation for brawlers that are kind of like mid-tier brawlers. If they don't get their Hypercharge early, they're going to fall down the meta and basically be unplayable in certain modes, in certain situations. I think of something like Power League, where you're going to want to be maxed out and you're going to want to have all that stuff, and if a brawler doesn't have that, they're basically unviable in that type of mode. Now, this really sucks if you're the type of player that mains a brawler and you basically just focus on playing one brawler all the time. You invested a lot in your brawler, you got them to level 11, you got them their gears, you got them all that. If they don't get their Hypercharge early, then you're basically going to feel like your brawler's struggling for no other reason other than the fact that they just didn't give you the thing you need to compete. And it's very frustrating in that situation. I think of something like my Terra situation, where I want to push her, but now if I don't get a Hypercharge for her early enough, she's basically going to be unplayable till she gets one. And then my third major concern is that Hypercharge paired with the level scaling changes is going to throw the game into a major unbalanced state, and I have a lot of worry for it when more brawlers start to get those Hypercharges, especially like your more meta ones like Ashe or Sam or somebody like that. Now, thankfully, they didn't give top-tier brawlers a Hypercharge right away, but they did give one to Shelly and they did give one to Spike, and those 2 brawlers have me a bit concerned. So yeah, overall, I like Hypercharges. I think it's a good mechanic. I think it adds complexity to the game, and it changes like level scaling in a positive way. But because I have all these concerns, I have to say that the W is not a big W, but a small W. So let's move on. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the changes to the game mode rotations, and this might be a bit of a bad take, but I think this change is a big L, and I'm going to call it out here, and I'm going to explain why. Now, my main issue with this is that it limits your choice of the way that you want to play the game, the way you want to push your trophies. Now, I understand that Heist, Bounty, and Hot Zone were not the most popular game modes, and I understand they want to condense the player base and try to make matchmaking a little bit faster, all that stuff. I get it. But it's not a good way to reinforce people to play the game they want, and I just can't get behind the decision. I'm going to use myself myself as a prime example here. There are going to be days when I don't like the Brawl Ball map that's up. Knockout's going to be in rotation, and I'm just not going to want to play the game because I don't play Showdown. I avoid Knockout unless I'm playing with a specific team, and I don't want to play the Brawl Ball map. So what else is going to be in the game for me to actually play? Those are going to be days when I don't play Brawl Stars at all. I'll even pass up my my star drops on those days. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's going to be in that boat. So this change just, it doesn't make sense in my opinion, especially like from where I'm coming from. I don't like it. Like I said, I understand the idea behind this change, but I can't get behind it. Like I said, it limits player choice, and it's just not a good change. So I got to give it an L here. All right, then the last thing they brought up in Brawl Talk was the roadmap. Now, there's a couple different things to talk about here, and I have mixed feelings on certain things, so we're going to talk about these really quick. All right, so first off, they want to rework Club League and Power League. I think this is a big W. Like I said many times, I don't grind out either one of these modes. I pretty much only play them either casually in the case of Power League, or Club League, I'll just do it on occasion. I won't ever grind out everything for the week. So to see them put this at the top of their list and make it a big focal point of the next couple of updates to try to update these, I think that's a big W, and I'm excited to see what they do with them. All right, so the next thing I want to bring up is them giving up on PvE. Now, when they announced that last year, that was something I was really excited for. I was really looking forward to updated weekend events and then possibly adding story modes for each individual brawler. But the fact that they can't do it the way they want and they're just giving up on it, it sucks, and I'm not happy about it, so I gotta give it a bit of an L here. Now, the next thing they brought up was possible changes to the Brawl Pass, and I don't know if I should call this an L or a W personally. Now, I personally like the way the Brawl Pass is right now. Other than the end of season rewards, everything else seems to work pretty well, and you move through the Brawl Pass at a very nice pace, so I really like the current state of the Brawl Pass myself. But he did bring up possibly shortening it or lengthening it, and I can understand if there's like dev team stress because you have to get an update out every other month. So I can understand from that perspective that they would probably want to extend their development cycles as opposed to just pumping out Brawl Passes nonstop. So coming from that perspective, I get it. And then Frank expressed the idea that maybe they should remove chromatic brawlers from the Brawl Pass and maybe do away with the chromatic rarity entirely. So this is something that I can actually get behind because I've said for a while they need to slow down on brawler releases, and they have not slowed down at all. In fact, we get 2 brawlers every single update, and I have concerns that the roster is just getting way too filled out and brawlers are getting way more unoriginal as we go. So removing the chromatic brawler from the Brawl Pass would definitely slow down that cadence, and it would actually be a healthy change for the game in my opinion. But my major concern is that they would need to give us real compensation for a Brawl Pass that doesn't have a brawler in it, and it can't just be like 1,200 credits or something like that, because that's not a positive change, especially for people who have all the brawlers. When they claim those credits, it's going to go right to fame, and fame is pointless. So I would want to see something like big, like maybe more coins, more power points, or even something like 2 extra skins or something crazy. It's got to be real compensation. It can't just be you know, credits. So I can't really call this an L or a W, but I do think that, you know, they could make positive changes on the Brawl Pass, so I could give it a small W if they do. We'll cross that road when we get there. I just want to talk about it real quick. And there you have it. There's all my W's and L's for this update, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I gave this update a lot of L's. There's a lot of negative changes, and I'm not very excited for this update personally. I think the thing that's really souring me on this update is the changes to level scaling. I think that it's going to make the game feel super pay to win. It's going to be a very frustrating experience, and then you compound that with the addition of hypercharges to certain brawlers but not other brawlers. It's just going to be a very bad experience for a lot of us players, and I'm not excited for it personally. Then on top of that, they changed the way the game modes rotate, and I think that's another bad change. So between those 3 things, it's like, I don't know, man. I just can't get behind this update. But let me know what you guys think. Am I being too negative? Do you guys agree with anything I'm saying here? Let me know what you guys are positive on this update. And if you made it this far into the video, make sure you leave a like on it. And if you enjoyed my rambling and you're not subbed, make sure you drop a sub as well. But that's going to do it for this one. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.